ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our podcast, the Tickle Me Comedy Podcast, the last one, the next one in our series. I'm Dillon Dilligaf. I'll be hosting by myself tonight. My partner, Isaac Israel, is, who knows where he is. We have a search party out looking for him. So in the meantime, I'll take care of all the hosting duties, and you'll have some fun. Just stick with us. So with me tonight, well, before we do that, let's talk about the sponsors. So our sponsors tonight, you know, we try to get around the valley to different restaurants and bring you a different podcast. Tonight we're at Sienna Italian Restaurant over on Sahara, and great food. I ate here earlier. It's awesome. The food is terrific. So if you're over here and you get a chance to stop by, the food is great. Our other sponsor for tonight is the Blue Zone Comedy Tour, of which I'm a part of. Blue Zone Comedy sponsors comics that have a disability, and we try to get them out and seen by the world. So you can find us out there on Facebook and the other social media, Blue Zone Comedy Tour. So with that, let me introduce our guests for tonight. I'm privileged. I have two great comedians with me. I have, to my far left, I have Monte Cruz, and I have Ryan Cole, and they're both awesome comics, and we're just gonna jump into it. So Monte, start off. Tell us a little about you and your comedy and what you've been doing.
Well, I'm straight out of Dayton, Ohio. Born and raised. I'm now living in Las Vegas and enjoying life. Been doing comedy for over 15 years now. Been inside clubs and underground, locally, everywhere. I've been doing my thing. I'm now doing social distancing on social media, doing comedy, and I'm just having fun, man, enjoying life. Life is the new rich.
Yep, I like it. How about you, Ryan?
I'm Ryan Cole. I am born and raised in Las Vegas.
Really?
Yeah. Been a lot of places, but I ended up back here in Las Vegas. Been doing comedy for about 11 years now. Like Monty said, I've been all over. Try to do, every time I'm traveling, whether I'm booked or not, I try to do comedy somewhere. So I just love getting on stage, whether I'm paid or not. I mean, maybe cut that part out because I want to be paid. So I just love getting on stage and getting paid. What else? I haven't been doing a lot of comedy in the last 3 months since everything shut down, but got a new puppy and that's good.
All right, we'll talk about the puppy in a little bit. So this pandemic thing hit, and we've all been kind of like not doing anything. Have you guys had opportunity to maybe work on some material or practice up in front of the mirror or anything like that?
I've definitely got creative, more current with my comedy. Nothing more funnier than at the moment life situations.
Yep.
My writing, I don't do as much writing as I used to because it's natural now because my everyday movement is funny.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So even with the world and what it's going through, it's a lot of things that you see now that are definitely hilarious.
Boy, do you write them down or you just remember them?
I might write down the subject of it,
yeah,
and then go from there, or I can just feel that moment and remember to talk about it. And it's a great gift to have, and I just love making people laugh. So
how cool is that?
Man, it's like superpowers.
Superpowers, I like it. Superpower. How about you, Ryan?
Well, I don't have the gift of memory like Monty does. So, I mean, I used to write things down word for word, and now it's kind of like I just will, I'll say the idea into my phone, and maybe later I'll pick up on it. But right now, I think I lose a lot more funny stuff than I keep. I'll be driving in the car and be like, oh, that's funny, so I'll say it in my phone. Then I get home and be like, what the hell was I thinking? Like,
That was funny when I thought it up.
Mayonnaise butter knife, like what is that?
What?
Right, so.
Or how about at night when you have a thought and you think, just before you go to sleep, you got, oh man, you got this great set that you just did, and in the morning you can't remember what it was, right?
That happens a lot,
yeah.
But that's why I have my phone right there. And hopefully most of the time I can put an idea in there and I can remember it.
So I haven't been in comedy as long as you guys have. So what I do, I don't stop and write things down. Is I bought this little recorder, and it's like instant on. So if I think of something, I'll just kind of say it into the recorder, and then later on, I'll be able to transpose it into something. But that's because I'm a lot older than you guys, and I really don't have a good memory. So it's like, oh my god.
Oh, the phone serves the same purpose, but again, I don't like hearing my voice on recording. So as soon as it starts, I'm like, oh, who's that guy? I
Who
want
is
this
that
nigga.
guy?
So,
He ain't that funny, right?
exactly.
So during the pandemic, one of the things that I got to do was I did a virtual comedy show. It was all online. Have you guys done that?
Yes.
How was it?
Done one.
Did you?
Yeah.
So tell us your experience.
Well, it's hard without the audience to play off of. You don't get the laughs. I mean, you kind of pause because you've been doing it for a while, so you know where you mean to be funny. But I mean, it's like doing a set in a room full of comics to me. It's just it takes away my heart.
That's a good point. I never thought of it that way. Yeah.
You can reverse that. What I mean by that is, if we've already experienced being in a room full of comics, then you should already be comfortable about talking around each other.
Yeah.
So you kind of gotta like look at it as though these are my peers and I can bring forth my comedy and see if it works. Sometimes on the virtual, they'll have it where the comedians will laugh and you can hear them as well. And then I've worked on some platforms where under the bottom, they'll have the chat room may pop up. Like I'm on a Bono's comedy StreamYard with Diaz Mackey Monday Night Raw. And under the bottom, you'll see in the chat, LOL, couple smiley faces. So if you glance and see those, it gives you the motivation to continue a little bit.
Yep.
And also, don't forget, as comedians, we also have funny conscience in our minds that are laughing as well. So
Yeah, because we've done it. We know where the laugh points are.
Yeah.
You hear them in your head, right?
Yeah, you know where you mean to be funny. It's just, I think for me, even before I start doing comedy, I'm better at playing off a crowd or even another person.
Yep.
So even when I'm in the mirror sometimes, I'm like, oh, that won't work. I'll do it in the mirror 3 or 4 times. I'm like, that's not going to work.
Yep.
And then maybe if I got a couple extra minutes in the set, I'll try it and be like, damn, that worked.
That did work after all.
Just because
Hard on
it's
yourself.
more than me. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I'm a little hard on myself.
But I like what you said, because I thought I was the only one doing that. I call it situational comedy. I'm much better when I'm with people and I play off of something that somebody said, and I'll think of something funny about something that somebody said during a conversation, as opposed to getting them on stage and telling stories or whatever.
Oh, that's definitely a difference.
I know, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a difference. It's just, I mean, I don't know. It's like when the first time I did comedy. And I felt the laughter. So the first time I did virtual, and the response I got, like say for instance, my Cash App was full.
Your what?
My Cash App, because it
Oh,
was some
cool.
virtuals where you put the Cash App on, and then you receive the Cash App, and then you was like, dang, they really enjoyed it, because
Yeah.
it was like they would actually come to my show and pay $10 to see me or $5 to see me, and it's just like, man, I want to do it again and again and again. So it gets encouraging, it gets addictive, and you just want to continue to do it. So like whatever chance you get a chance to do comedy, whether it's virtual or on stage, and it betters you as well.
Oh yeah,
Because
absolutely.
you'd be like, if I could do it in front of virtual people and nobody's laughing, or I didn't see them or hear them, and I come and bring it to the stage, it's going to be just off the
Oh, yeah.
breakers.
Heck yeah.
It's going to be crazy.
Oh, I know. That's good. That's excellent. So, it seems like I wind up talking about this every time we have a podcast, but we did a drive-in comedy show. You guys familiar with that?
I heard about that. Yeah.
Oh, it was really cool. So we're talking about feedback and audience participation and stuff. And what happened was, as the audience already knows if you followed us so far, is instead of applause, well, there was some applause because there were some picnic tables, but everybody's in their cars and they'd be honking their horn or flashing their lights, and that was a different kind of feedback, but it was just as motivating. It was very cool.
Now that sounds cool. I'd like to do something like that.
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
love to do that.
I think that's going to become more popular. I'll think about it while we're talking. But there's who's the guy that's dating Gwen Stefani? Who's that? Who's that guy? You guys know? Blake Shelton and a bunch of people. They're going to start hosting drive-in concerts with various artists, and I think that's going to be a trend of the future. I think with this social distancing. Right?
I like that people are still wanting entertainment and people are still willing to put it on. I just hope it goes back to normal. I didn't grow up like this whole
No.
change in the pandemic
No.
thing is like, I really wanted to go back to normal. And I got 15-year-old and a 12-year-old, and they're itching for it to go back to normal. So if I live with it for 42 years, I know my 15 and 12-year-old they're born and they're I mean, they're not as old as me, and I've been going through this thing where it's like where I love comedy. I want to get out and do it more. It's the venues aren't there, and it's almost like I'm feeling like somebody took my favorite toy away.
Really?
Yeah, so I wanted to go back to normal. I appreciate the driving stuff, and I would do it definitely, and I would do the virtual stuff. I just wish I could just get back on stage in front of 50 people and just, go at it.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's nothing more satisfying internally for us than to have the feedback from a live audience, right? Or the heckling, or the non-laughter. It's still feedback, right?
I'll take a bar full of drunk people facing that way.
I know, right? Yeah, we've done that. I did that. Oh my God, we did this Russian restaurant one time, and it was noisy, and everybody was talking, and we're still trying to do our show. And I thought for sure we'd all bombed, but on the way out, everybody said how much they enjoyed it. We didn't even think they were listening to us. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But well, yeah. So let's talk about that. I enjoy every time I interview comics. I always like to ask these questions. So let's do this one. So what was the most memorable time that you bombed? Let's start with you, Monte.
Oh man, Indiana.
Yeah.
It was in the late '90s. I got booked for a show as a headliner, and I definitely wasn't a headliner.
Had you been a headliner before?
No.
Wow, that's scary.
So it was something challenging for me as well, and I decided to have a couple drinks, and now I'm not a drinker anymore. So not because of that, not because of that, but one of the reasons. But it was the worst feeling ever. I was doing something with I think his name was Mississippi Mudcat in Indiana, in Hiawatha, and I got up and just froze. I ended up partying before the show, and I went up and did the show, and I just stood there for a second, and people was like, "Are you okay? Or is everything all right, buddy? Come on!" You know, I'm just looking like I don't know what to do, and I walk off, and then the host comes back up like, "No, go back up there. Let's bring him back up." And go. So I go back up there and I do the same thing. They're like, "I told you he sucks." And it was just like, oh Lord, and I got booed. And I actually had a lady. I went outside after that night, and a lady comes up to me and says, "If you ever come to Indiana with that again, I will shoot you." Really? I was just like, "Really? You are you gonna put a gun on me?" And it was like, ever since then, I never wanted to experience that.
No,
it was
terrible.
like crazy. So I was just like, no, that was the worst feeling. Indiana, I'll never forget it.
But I think we've all had that where you're ready to go, and then you get out there and you freeze for just a second. We've all done that. And I think the mark of a professional comic is you just that's a fleeting thought, and you just move on, right?
Yeah, but I was under the influence.
Well, there you go.
So it was like,
all right.
It was a total different change. So I was just like, no,
I like that.
This is not happening.
How about you, Ryan?
I'm not gonna count the first time I went up. I think the first time I went up, I was kind of set up. I went up last after like a really good headliner. Yeah, the host just put me up. He was like, "Oh yeah," the whole show was like, "I'm gonna get you up. I'm gonna get you up." And so he put the headliner up, and then he was like, "Wait, before y'all leave, we got a new guy." And so, yeah, he put me up, and people were walking out on my set.
Really?
But that was the first time I went up, and that was bad. But I was at a place called Liquid Laughs in Boise, Idaho, and I was the feature, and then I was supposed to be the host of the after party, and I bombed. Like I was supposed to do 15 minutes, and I think I did like 8, and I just cut it short. And it was they didn't boo, but when I said my name is Ryan Cole, y'all have a great night, somebody was like, "Thank God." And then I had to go. After the headliner, I had to go back out there and be the host of the party. And they gave me a wireless mic, told me to go mingle in the crowd, announce what was going on next. Nobody wanted to listen to me.
Really?
And like I felt this small. So
they sent you out to mingle with the audience?
Yeah.
Ooh.
So
you should have said, "Well, that wasn't me. That was some other guy."
So that was in 2013 or 14, I believe. So yeah, that was a bad experience because I had to, after I bombed, I had to spend 3 hours with the crowd who had just.
And they didn't let you forget it, did
No,
they?
not at all.
Not at all. Okay, so on the other side of that coin, let's let's kind of maybe get a little insight on the best night that you had. We'll start with you, Ryan.
All right.
What's the one that's most memorable that sticks out in your mind?
Trying to think. That's good. I had a lot of good nights. There was who was it? Could be Michael Collier came here. He did a show over at Luna Lounge, and he, I went up. I usually go. I don't mind going up first when the comics are all sitting around. Who's going to go up first? I always volunteer to go up first. I don't have a problem with that.
Set the bar.
Yeah, so I went up first, 2 other comedians went up, and then Michael Collier went up, destroyed the place. He came out, walked through all the other comics, and he was like, "Hey, you funny." And it was a really good experience because, I mean, everybody there, like, I'm not afraid to say, this is how I go dressed everywhere, t-shirt and jeans. Everybody else is pretty much dressed up, they're wearing their best. And I'm married, but it was just a thing for him to walk through the crowd and put all the attention on me, and like girls with the short skirts and the titties popping out there. Can I say that everywhere?
Nah, you can't say that. You can't say titties.
All right. Okay. The breasts is popping out everywhere. Put all their attentions on me, just for a second, and I just felt like the big man in the crowd for a second.
But that's pretty cool, though, right?
Yeah, real cool.
I want to go back to what you talked about. The first thing you said about going up after the headliner. What host would do that to a new comic?
Diaz Mackey.
Oh, Diaz Mackey did that?
Yeah, first time I went up was in 2009, and I went the week before. He was like, "I'm gonna get you up. I'm gonna get you up." He didn't get me up, so I went the next week. He was like, "Okay, I'm gonna get you up this week. I'm gonna get you up." This whole show was over, and as he was announcing that the show was over, he was like, "Oh, wait, we got one more person."
Oh no!
So yeah,
I haven't seen Diaz for a long time. I worked with him over at Tickle Comedy Club a few weeks, but I haven't seen him forever.
Yeah.
I have to look him up. But he did that to you. That's funny.
But I always give him credit, man. First guy ever put me on stage in Vegas, and I really still appreciate it. Since then, we traveled together and done different shows, but yeah, that's my first memory of Diaz putting me up after Jay Reed and D-Lay.
Oh, how cool is that?
That's the first guy put me on too in Vegas.
DJ?
Really?
Diaz Mackey?
Yeah,
Really?
Diaz showed real love to Vegas. Big shout out to Diaz. Man.
Yeah, exactly. I hope to see him soon too. Yeah, I haven't seen him for a while.
He's really been a help to Vegas.
Yeah,
As far as comedy.
that's true.
Yeah. So, and I've told the story before, but it's kind of fun. So sometimes audiences, like you have a big audience and they're not responding, and so I mean, what do you do if you got, let's say you have 100 people in the audience and they're not responding, and you know your stuff is funny because you've used it before. What do you do?
You do crowd work. You go out and try to touch somebody in the crowd. You always have 1 or 2, 3 people focused before you even do comedy. Like before you even hit the stage, you should go around the room and look and pick out at least 2 or 3 people. They're like your to-go-to people just in case.
To pick on. Yeah.
Not exactly pick on, but you can just get some kind of involvement or feedback out of them. If you even ask them a question, or if you notice a married couple and you just say, how long you been married, and you go into that lane, and then hopefully it'll open the door up for the next joke to come out, and then everyone is back on to you.
Yeah.
So you have to have crowd work. There's something a lot of people don't speak about in comedy. You have to have it, but it doesn't have to be used all the time. It should be used situational and be a part of helping you when you're in the jam. This is how it should be.
In an earlier podcast, somebody said, and I had never heard this before, and I haven't been doing comedy near as long as you guys have, and this experience hasn't happened to me yet. I'm sure it will, but some headliners don't like you to do any crowd work because then it kind of takes away from their oomph. And I've never heard that yet.
I haven't had a chance to work with any headliners to give me any guidelines of such, but I've heard as well as you have, but I haven't had that. They say go do your thing, and it's just like, I know my respects upon another comedian.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna try to outdo anybody. I'm just gonna do it just enough to give you, and I don't want to step on. Like, I can know my headliner's material, and I can know what situations not to touch. I have a lot of people who go up before me, and they know I talk about certain things, and they'll go in those subjects and talk about
Really?
it.
knowing that you're going to come up and talk
But
about
what they don't know is I have a magic briefcase that I'm gonna keep holding on just in case when you do touch that, or I don't want to listen before the show, and when I come on and it's the audience hear familiar material, I'm gonna try to make sure that my material is 10 times more powerful
Right.
than what you talk.
Yeah, that's always awkward too when a comedian that's on before you talks about something you're going to talk, and you know that that's probably one of your best things you talk about. And then what do? You got to make like a real time change and kind of put a different twist on, it, right?
That's why it's always good to have material from personal experiences because nobody can do you like you.
That's right.
To your first question, I don't know if you got like a huge crowd full of people. I use this technique that I've always used. It's called either go over their heads or go to the back of the room, because if you have 10 rows of people, the best way to get their attention is to go to the 11th row. When everybody turns around and then gives their attention back to you, they can't talk and do that at the same
No,
time.
again, that's a good point.
So,
That's excellent. I never thought of that.
just go over their heads and bring the attention from the back to the front. What was the other thing? So when I did a lot of shows with Edwin San Juan over at Planet Hollywood, and I know his material, and a lot of things we touch on the same. But what I made sure that I've done when I work with him is I'll take my material, like I'll start here at 9 or 10, and I'll stay at 9 or 10, but maybe 2 or 3 minutes before I'm about to bring him on, I'll go down to 5. I'll talk about something that everybody knows about, something really general, something that's funny. I know that it'll get a laugh, but it's not going to kill the room. And then once I do that, then I'm free to bring him up, and it's kind of like, in the way that I bring him up, with the intro, as far as all his credits and the way that I say his name and elongate his last name, it's almost like it's a whole new show now.
Yeah.
So I don't like, I try not to like maybe dumb down my material or stay away from different subjects, but I know that before somebody else is about to come on, I can kind of bring the energy level down a little bit and let them pick it
Yeah,
up.
so because you know he's going to bring it right back up again. So
Right.
instead of leaving them way up here, you leave them down so they can come back up again. That's a cool philosophy. I like that. That's pretty cool. So I always like to tell this story too. So audiences they are like fickle. They're interesting. So one night a few months ago we did back-to-back shows, and first night we had an audience of about 100 people, and they were like, nobody was engaged. And so the next night we all did the same show, but there were only 5 people in the audience, and it was like the best show ever. These people, we didn't want to stop because they were so engaged, and it was they were great for only 5 people. So that's kind of something I'm learning too, is the audiences are really different, right? I think.
Yeah, I've done shows in front of general type audiences where you might see on the Strip where it's a different audience every night, or that urban crowd where I've done a lot of shows in North Las Vegas. Now the thing about people in the urban crowd, and I'll just say predominantly black, is they don't want to see the same show every time. Like they'll listen to the same Whitney Houston song 350 times in a row, but when it comes to seeing a comedian, they might have their favorite jokes, but they don't want to see the same
Same thing every night. Right?
So that's where I got a lot of my crowd working skills from, is because after the second, third time, a few of the same groups of audience members have seen the show. They want to see something else, and you can feel that. So
Really?
yeah.
So the same people are coming back night after night, right?
Well, yeah, you do a weekly show. A lot of the same people come back. Yeah.
And tell us about that. I want to jump into that. You do some hosting, right?
Yes.
Where?
Well, like I said, I hosted at Planet Hollywood with Edwin San Juan for a long time. Before that, I hosted at LA Comedy Club. I think I did 2.5 years straight when they were at Valley every Sunday night. I don't think I ever missed a show. But yeah, I love hosting. I especially love hosting when you can get a different crowd. It's just I believe that the new crowd brings out the new energy in me. So I can do all my favorite jokes over and over.
There you go.
And the only thing that does is it doesn't give you a chance to kind of try a whole bunch of new stuff, because it works at that point. So you might slip a new one in every now and then, but when you only have 5 minutes at the beginning of the show, then you got to bring somebody up, and you got 2 minutes in between each comic or something like that. and you are the one responsible for keeping the energy going.
Yep.
You know, you gotta go with what works a lot of times.
That's one of the areas that I haven't really worked too much in yet is hosting. I've done it a couple times, and it's a scary thing because you're like you say, you're responsible for keeping the flow of the show going, keeping the energy level up. And if you have a comic that's not doing as well, and you've got to kind of go in and fill in for them and bring the level back up, yeah, it's hard. I'm going to try to get some more experience with that if we ever get out of this pandemic thing, right?
And that goes with the saying of the crowd situation when you were talking about bigger crowd versus a smaller crowd. The hosting position is the key to all that, whether it's big or small. So
It's the quarterback.
man, it's like, man, so I applaud you for being there. I mean, I've done a lot of hosting as well. I've also hosted my own shows. You know, I've done Tickle Me Tuesdays out here in Las Vegas. I've also, before I even got to Las Vegas, I was hosting at Wiley's Comedy Club in Dayton, Ohio, Joker's Comedy Club. I did hosting there. I also had the show Crackling Wednesday out here in Las Vegas. So I know how to host it as well, and it's a very great job. You should try that out because it also helps you come up with more better material, and you can get the crowd back into the comedy.
Yeah, I'm going to work on that. I've done it a couple times. It wasn't my favorite thing to do, so but I have to do it. So the experiences you guys have kind of motivated me, and I think that will be one of my challenges for this
I can
coming
see you
year.
doing it. You got it, man.
To your point though, I think that hosting is I think it's the easiest job to me. Well, to me it is because you get a chance, you get do-overs.
Yeah.
You don't have to be, all you have to do is really keep the crowd interested. You don't have to be the headliner. You don't have to be the funniest guy on the show. You just got to keep the energy going and keep the crowd interested. And if you do bad, you get to come back out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Do over.
Right.
You always want to go. You be like, dang, I had a bad set. I got to come back tomorrow.
Yeah,
Especially if you working the weekend, you're like, man, I had a bad night. I got to come back on tomorrow, and I got to do this. But the host is correct. You get a chance to do a do-over, and that's the good part of it.
That's a good point. Do over. Yeah, exactly. Because you're coming up between all the comics, and so if you in the last 2 minutes that you had, it's like, well, I can fix that, right?
Yeah.
And we have a great podcast team behind us, and there's Elijah, there's Sammy, and there's Raina, and then remotely we have JT and the other folks that are out there, and they're doing a wonderful job. And one of the things they do is every week they give us a list of things that are trending, and so I thought we'd spend a few minutes maybe just talking about some of the things that are trending. So so there's I don't want to talk about that one. Let's talk about this one. Okay, so in the middle of this pandemic thing that's going on, and I apologize for reading it, but I didn't memorize it. So in the middle of this pandemic, they're selling beans. Chris Cuomo slammed Trump on CNN over hawking the Goya brand. You guys up to speed on what happened with Goya?
I'm definitely not.
Not
Okay,
really, no.
I'll give you a kind of quick. Goya is a large food retailer, and they do a lot of Hispanic kinds of foods, and it's a big multi-billion-dollar company. And so last week, Trump was doing a Rose Garden thing, and the CEO of Goya came up there, and he thanked the president and all that kind of stuff. And so the backlash was they're all saying that they want to boycott Goya to kind of cancel this guy out, right? So what happened was, all of a sudden, Trump cracks me up, I tell you. So at the White House, on the Resolute desk that he has in his office, he's got all these Goya canned foods packed up on it.
Saw that.
Yeah. So that's where it came from, was because the other side had wanted to boycott Goya, and so here's the president doing that. So then what the trending thing was is that Cuomo, the CNN host, whatever his name is, Chris Cuomo, thanks. I couldn't say his brother's name. But so Chris Cuomo was blasting the president for doing that, and I mean, I don't know, it's kind of got out of hand. This whole, I kind of hope it would just kind of all get over with, don't you guys? This is crazy.
Yeah,
It is crazy. Like, it's the CNN is clearly. I'm not getting political because I'm not that much of a political person, but CNN clearly has an agenda. I mean, when every story is Trump bad, coronavirus. Trump bad, coronavirus. Trump bad, you know.
Yeah.
It gets to be, it's like, okay, why are this is, and I'm sure there's other news going on in the world over food, man. Come on, like, like the CEO of Goya can align his company with anyone or any party who he feels like, and he shouldn't have to be canceled for it.
No, and I agree. This whole thing is it's way out of focus. It's out of control, and we just kind of, everybody needs to like take a deep breath. My wife says when I get really frustrated or something, she says, take a deep breath, we'll be okay. So I think that's kind of what we need to do, and I'm not political either, and it's like, you kind of watch it, and I'm thinking, all right, so I'm thinking that everything that we do gets transmitted into outer space, right?
Right.
So all these TV broadcasts, all these radio signals and everything are being broadcast out to outer space. So think if you're a civilization on another planet somewhere and you see this stuff and you're going, oh my God, we're not going there. And those people are way out of control.
It is must-see TV, though.
Or it's like watching the Jeffersons.
Yeah.
They're probably in space right now thinking like, oh, this is just like the Jeffersons.
I know, right? Think about how they, we aren't going there, right?
I guess if Trump wants to be aligned with Goya, I mean, he can still build a wall, just make a drive-through window.
There you go. That's good. I like it. Make it drive. What would you like? I'd like some Goya. That's good, right?
Yeah.
I knew a girl named Goya.
Did you really?
Yeah, that's why I was like, hold on, is her name on the paper?
Oh, okay. You like this one. So our next one is, this is a really good one. So nearly, it says here, nearly 5,000 Americans tried to enter Canada for shopping and recreation during the pandemic. It's great. That's why.
Nearly 5,000 Americans?
Yeah, out of the 350 million.
Right, that's like a day at Wet n Wild. Like, that's daily. That's a news story now?
I guess it was trending. That's
I
what,
mean,
that's what our folks gave
I
us.
know the border's closed now, but I mean, I'm
They
sure
said
there's
it's-
like it's 50,000 Americans that go over the border and back
I
every
know,
day.
they commute, they come this way, they go that way. But I
This
just
is-
thought it was funny,
this is-
Canada, going to Canada.
It's a store for shopping?
They should have said try to enter Las Vegas. I've seen 5,000 people try to come to Vegas. I get people call me all the time, man, what's going on in Vegas? Everything, man, it's still rolling.
I think it's funny just how they make a story out of like regular stuff. They should have just said nearly 5,000 Americans, you know, went out and exercised today. Like,
Yeah, really.
because we got a border that's damn near 3,000 miles long. So how many, I don't know how many border checkpoints there are, but
Yeah, that's a good point. Why the number 5,000? That's like a drop in the bucket. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. But,
Not enough, it should be a little bit more.
yeah.
nearly 5,000 Americans tried to get over to Tijuana for the weekend too.
Yeah, for the show. Tijuana, guys, ever had this happen? You go there with friends, and the tequila guy turns you upside down and pours tequila in you and shakes you by your feet. Have you ever seen that?
Oh, yeah, I
That's
saw that.
hilarious. Every time I take somebody new down. to
That's
Tijuana.
real tequila.
I don't think so. I think they water it down. I think it's just for effect.
Watered down with what?
Tequila.
Tequila.
It's a little lemon water.
Oh yeah. So.
So what do you think about the 5,000 Americans that went over the
Man.
border for shopping?
I don't know. What were they shopping for? Canadian bacon?
Nah, you know, it was a shortage of toilet paper, so they probably like went to get barrels and barrels of toilet paper so they could sell in the corner.
Because everything in Canada comes in barrels. When you think of
So
things
let's
sold
just-
in Canada, you
This
think
is
barrels.
get barrels of toilet paper. So it's like, let's bring it back because we're going to run out soon. We're going to make a sale as possible.
Because I mean, when you think of Canada, you don't think, you know.
I don't think shopping, like, that ain't the shopping capital of the world.
I think when I think of
How
Canada,
many stores?
three.
Two?
There's a El Polo Loco there now. Every time I think of Canada, I think back. I was a big Johnny Carson fan. Watched Johnny Carson every night. And this one thing he said after the first Iraqi war, after the first invasion, he goes, "Oh, I want to thank the Canadians for loaning us their tank."
This
One tank.
Just, that was it. That's all they loaned us was their tank.
Boom.
I know, right?
Okay, we're done.
We're done.
We're done, eh?
Eh, But
Give
so,
us 30 minutes. We got to reload.
That's good, Alex. So I think you guys said, so you were born and raised here in Vegas, right?
Yes, I was.
And probably saw some awesome changes in the last.
Yeah, I mean, I think back to, I mean, I grew up in North Las Vegas, and there was a time where, if you know the town, there was nothing north of Cheyenne. I believe it was around like 85, 86 is the first time I ever seen any lights north of Cheyenne Avenue. So, or was it Avenue Road, whatever the hell it is. And I mean, like, Vegas really literally, I mean, it is kind of that way now, but Vegas literally, like, in the 80s and early 90s was sectioned off by color. Like, all of the black people were in the north and the west side. All of the white people were in the south or east, going toward Henderson. Hispanics were kind of like mingling in here and there, but it wasn't a lot. And then all of a sudden, it's like in the mid 90s, things just changed. There was a building explosion. Nothing blew up like it exploded like that, but building, like construction exploded, and like things just became. If you thought there was a lot of money flowing through Vegas in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 90s, man, it really happened.
It really went
yeah.
up. How about you, Mike? How long have you been in Vegas?
I've only been in Vegas for 11 years, but I've seen change since I've been here. I've always saw change on the Strip or on the outside of Las Vegas, especially on the Strip. As far as every 3 months, there was something different. Either the business was selling or something was being built. This is one building I can't wait till they finish. It's right next door to the Riviera. I don't know who owns it or what's going on. There's no sign or nothing, but it's been there since I've got here.
Yeah, that's where the old Wet n Wild used to be, the original.
Oh,
That's right.
It's right across the street from
for
Circus.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm like wondering, like, what is? It's beautiful, whatever it's going to be, but I'm like, come on now. It's like, come on, what can we do with this building? Like, I can at least put the homeless in there by right now.
I'm sure they're there already.
So it's just like I see a change here. So from him saying from the 80s to the stoplights and the streetlights and all that situation, like, that's kind of crazy how Vegas have expanded and got bigger. I can see it getting even more because when you're going towards California, you see all this land, and I'm like, every time I ride by, I be like, I just want to buy a lot.
I even heard that Summerlin is trying to get their own township now.
Are they really?
Yeah, so like in maybe 20, 25 years, Summerlin will be like the new Henderson. It'll just have that'll be Summerlin, Nevada, not even Las Vegas anymore.
Wow, that's interesting. I want to go back to something you said about exploding.
Uh-huh.
There was an explosion here in the mid 80s. Were you here?
Yeah.
So there was a
Pepcon?
Pepcon.
Yeah.
For the audience that I probably told the story before, but it's worth sharing again. So I retired from NASA, and so after the first shuttle incident, NASA forgot to turn off the contract for making rocket fuel, and Pepcon here was making it. And in those days, like you say, there was nothing between like Henderson, the old Henderson, and Vegas, the Strip. It was just all open, and the Pepcon plant was there, and so NASA forgot to turn off the contract, and they just kept stockpiling all this rocket fuel, and that stuff, it's very volatile, right? So apparently one day somebody was welding, and they threw a burning rag into a garbage can, and it caught fire. And if you guys ever get a chance to see that video, YouTube it. It's Pepcon rocket fuel explosion. It blew out windows on Black Mountain, which is like 4 or 5 miles away. So the Pepcon plant used to be where the auto mall is in Henderson. And if you ever get a chance to see that video, it is awesome. The worst part of that tragedy, well, besides the person dying, that was always a tragedy, but the real tragedy was that the marshmallow plant next door got blown up too.
Yeah, I remember that.
That was like a travesty, right? But,
was it like Puff Marshmallow Company or something?
yeah, something like that. But poof, gone.
Yeah.
That was really bad.
So like, was it marshmallows like all over the street?
Ghostbusters.
Right. Like, oh my God.
That's pretty funny.
I mean, we talking about all this stuff. You used to work for NASA. Let's talk about you. Is the Earth flat, man? I want to know.
I don't know.
What's on the dark side of the moon? Like, we want to know all the real good stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, see, he can't tell us now. It's pretty. He's looking over his shoulder. Like, it's pretty cool. Just sir, don't talk about that.
I always get that's really funny. Anytime you say you work for NASA, automatically they think you're like a rocket scientist or somebody really brilliant. I am not. So, but
I did the laundry on the space suits.
yeah, I cleaned up the space shuttle after the flight.
That would be a good job. I would love to have that.
That was pretty cool. I did get to fly the space shuttle simulator,
Okay.
and it was really cool.
I was just watching the Armstrong
Yeah,
back
Rip.
in the day. Yeah, that was crazy that you said that.
Yeah, that's funny.
That was pretty
He was an
interesting.
amazing guy.
Yeah.
But there, there's a lot of people. I had a comedian on a couple weeks ago that was kind of like a conspiracy theorist, and he said that whole moon landing thing was faked, and he had justification for it. Okay, whatever. But yeah. So I think what I like to say, this is a funny story. So, all right. So just before I retired, the president came to give us a pep talk, right? And to announce that he was going to have a manned mission to the sun. And so the director says, well, sir, we can't go to the sun, we'll burn up. And the president says, nope, we're going at night.
Yeah.
That's not a true story, but it was
Good luck, buddy.
Yeah, good luck. Hold your breath. But yeah, NASA was an amazing experience. It was so cool. I got to do all kinds of stuff. But aliens, everybody thinks that there's aliens, right? And they always ask you, the first thing that people ask is are there aliens? And I always answer with, well, 1 out of 4 people is alien. So if you're out to dinner with 3 other people, one of you ain't from here.
Right.
See how he avoided that question though?
Yeah.
I mean, I believe it. I believe there's aliens out here. I mean, if they are, they peaceful. They ain't bothering nobody.
Yeah,
I hope. I mean,
They
I
have
can't.
for a while.
I can't identify what they look like, but I mean, if they are out here, I believe there's some kind
Oh,
of
I've seen-
spirit is running around. Or
Did you guys ever have an encounter?
No, I haven't. I've seen some weird stuff in the sky before, though. I have really seen.
Wait, but you told us
Like-
earlier you were drunk.
No, this was after the fact of not drinking. I haven't had a drink in over 9 years now, so I look at the sky a lot,
Mhm.
and I've seen some weird little things.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
How about you, Ryan?
Yeah, I had an encounter, but I was little, so who knows if it was my imagination or what. But I remember driving down Fremont Street. When you can actually drive down Fremont Street, I was with my uncle, and he just said, "Look at those dudes up in the air." Just my uncle talking, and I looked up, and it looked like the best way I could describe it is like a glowing shot glass in the air, like it was there, and then it was moving west. It wasn't a plane. My uncle, he almost crashed into the median, and he stopped. We looked back, like there was other cars that were stopped and looking up, and it just kept heading west, and it went out of view. It was on the news the next day. It was like something in the sky over Vegas.
Wow.
But yeah, it was really high, and it looked like a glowing shot glass is all I could. So
cool.
that was it.
How old were you?
I had to be about 6. No, my uncle died when I was 8, so I had to be about 5 or 6.
And you recall it pretty vividly?
Yeah, I remember because this is when you could
So
be.
they didn't really give you a Jello shot.
No, I didn't get
You
no.
was a kid. You had a Jello shot.
I didn't have the Jello put in the clock.
Juice box.
Give him one of them Jello shots, Sandy. He said he gave you a Jello shot. You know.
I remember this because this was when I was young. I'm old, people, so I'm not gonna say how old
Oh,
I am.
no.
But when I was young, like 5-year-old could ride in the front seat with no seatbelt and you wouldn't get in trouble. So that's how I remember me looking out of the front windshield
Yeah.
and looking up at this thing just traveling through the sky. So.
Embrace it, no, though. I want to state that to
Oh,
people.
I'm
man.
not saying no negative about it.
I'm 47, by the way. I have no fault of saying that. Life is the new rich. I keep saying that, and pushing that out to people because I want them to just embrace what you got going on. Man.
Ryan, you aren't old. I am old. I remember dinosaurs. Riding them to school.
He said right after school. He was like
He's so
a
old. His
Flintstone.
last name is Asaurus.
Saurus. Checkosaurus. That's pretty funny. But you guys ever gone out to Area 51?
No, I would love to.
I would love to also. I drive past it when I'm going to Utah, but
Yeah.
I want to go in the
Past that
daytime,
area.
though. Don't go. You can't go out there now, can you?
You can't go out there anytime.
you can't go out there,
Oh,
period.
for real?
Yeah.
Oh, so all the movies I've been watching, people going to Area 51, I thought that was some serious thing.
But that thing last year when people were going to storm Area 51,
Yeah, right.
until all the guys were there with the machine guns going, no, you ain't.
Oh, shoot, I thought you could ride out there.
Yeah, you work for NASA. Have you ever been there?
No.
No.
I'll
Okay.
tell you,
He said,
I'll tell you
no.
what we did do one
Rub
time.
your right eyebrow if you've been there.
But what we did one time is my wife and I, we had a coupon. We rented a Mustang convertible, right? So let's go to Area 51, see how far we can get. So we went to the little town of Rachel where they have the Alien Inn and the souvenir store and all that kind of stuff. And then in order to find the gate for Area 51, you got to go down this dirt road about 8 miles. And well, you find this mailbox on the side of the highway, then you follow this dirt road for about 8 miles, and then all of a sudden you get to this big fence with an open gate, and there's these signs on it that says deadly force authorized. And so my wife says, well, can't we just go inside there and turn around and come back out? No. And then I pointed out the blacked out vans that were all around on the hills. So that was my experience for Area 51.
Well, when I first got to Vegas, I thought Area 51 was so dark. And I was just like, nah, it ain't worth it. So I turned around. So that's why I was like in the daytime. Like, you gotta take me in the daytime.
Yeah, just take you up there and
I don't do the desert at night.
Yeah, no, we're not going. Does this break smell like ether?
Right.
No.
Yeah, I saw a video of a guy had I guess he parked at the gate and he was trying to get a drone, but I guess they have drones, like anti-drone drones. So like if you
They do?
Yeah, you send a drone over the gate, then they got people controlling drones that'll take your drone out.
So you got drones.
So if you look it up on YouTube, up Area 51 drone video, and this drone is just flying, then maybe it could be a hoax, but then all of a sudden it just goes black, and he's like, my drone is gone.
The drone got abducted.
So,
Took his drone.
Yeah, there's some, there's some weird stuff that happens out there, I'm sure. But on the good side, on the positive side of it, they come up with some incredible technology. You know, these new fighters that we have that are stealthy, and they have these incredible maneuverability things.
love the F-22, man.
Oh,
That's
I
my
know.
favorite.
Isn't that the coolest?
Yeah.
You know what I learned just recently? I think I knew this before, but I forgot it because I'm old and I'm getting amnesia. And so the pilot wears this really cool helmet with this visor, and everything that displays on the instrument panel displays inside on his visor. And so they have cameras all over the airplane. So when he looks down, he looks right through the airplane.
Right.
Isn't that the coolest?
That's awesome.
Yep. And so we had a briefing once when they were still in development, but when the pilot gets his mission, it comes on a DVD. And so when he gets in the airplane, he plugs in the DVD, and it programs the whole mission for him. And he doesn't have to, he just sits there. And the airplane just goes off and does it all by itself.
I just hope they don't come out with the flying cars. That's the only thing. I don't think that should ever happen.
No, it hasn't happened yet because it can't.
They're making them. They're saying they're making them, but I just hope no one. That's it. No.
Like Uber, the drone cars, where you call for, is that what you're talking about?
No. Fly.
Fly?
Where you just in the sky going.
What would you use for propulsion though?
I mean, I can feel a lot, like they already into the robot things that's coming out right now, so it's like,
The autonomous cars?
the technology is advanced, man. They're probably further than that.
I'm sure they are.
But I just don't want the cars. I think the cars would be the worst.
Do you really?
It would be the worst ever.
You talk about depopulating the planet. That would
even
depopulate
if
the planet.
you put it on autopilot, I think it would just be the worst. It'll be the worst thing.
Congestion
Oh
everywhere.
man,
Look up.
it'll be worse. I hope they don't ever get.
So tying cars and space together, the Elon Musk story, you guys know about him launching his Tesla into space?
I know he's planning a trip to Mars.
Yeah,
but
yeah. That's a good series, by the way. It's on the Discovery Channel.
He's planning on launching his car into space?
He did it.
With a person in it?
Well, it's a mannequin. And his Tesla convertible. You can look it up on.
I think I've seen that.
You can look it up on YouTube. I don't know why, it just cracks me up every time I think about it. So he launched his shiny red Tesla convertible into space, and in the driver's seat is this mannequin in a spacesuit waving. And so its mission is to go orbit the sun and then go back out into the solar system. So I think sometime in October or November, it's gonna make it's already went around the sun, and it's gonna come flying by the Earth at about 34,000 miles an hour.
It still got paint.
Yeah.
Space
It
trip.
has paint on
Yeah.
it.
So it's
the
kind of
sun.
tumbling through space.
Yeah, it's just out there until the batteries died. It had a camera that you could go on YouTube and you could see the space guy out there.
Well, couldn't it have a solar camera? A
Um,
solar powered
Yeah,
battery?
the sun, huh?
Probably so.
Yeah, that would have been
But,
smart, huh? They should have got you.
You should get you. But so you're supposed to be able to see this thing fly through the sky with the naked eye. It's gonna be pretty far away from Earth, but if you know where it is, you should be able to see it fly by. I'm excited about that. I'm gonna go out there and watch that. That would be cool, right?
Weird, man. Like,
Think about this. So my comedic mind, I'm thinking, so maybe in like 50,000 years when some alien culture sees this Tesla flying through space, some little alien kid's gonna go, oh, that's a 2017 Tesla.
Man.
They do exist.
Man.
Yeah.
We need to get that. I
Yeah,
need to put that on
catch that,
eBay.
Yeah.
eBay.
That's good. So, yeah. So what else do you guys want to talk about? Anything happening with you? Got any shows coming up that you're after this pandemic thing goes or anything?
I've had shows canceled every week.
How did that go? So all of us had stuff planned, and then all of a sudden we're under house arrest.
Right. I had shows. I had a whole 2 weeks lined up in May. Of course, that didn't go off, and then everything chilled out for June. Then I had another few shows lined up for this month. Forget where they were with at the Grand, and then with John Hilder, and it just seems like the shows just keep on. They just keep pushing them further and further out. First, it was the casinos; you couldn't have shows there. Then they moved it on to bars, and so who knows now? I
Now
don't know
the
when it'll
bars
start.
are shut down.
I know.
You got bars that you only allow a certain amount of people in there. I ain't have too much lined up. I was doing something with the Laugh Lounge. I've been working with them for the past couple of months before the pandemic, and they were just moving into what was that? What is that on Craig? Little casino over there.
The Cannery?
The Cannery. They
Cannery.
were moving into the Cannery. So they were coming from Blue Martini to the Cannery. So I was doing something with them. And I was also getting into my acting skills. So I did a movie last year with Hazel Films, Marlon Money. And they just released the movie about 2 months ago called BMO Simo Take on Las Vegas.
What's it called?
BMO Simo
Okay.
Takes on Las Vegas. Very funny, man.
Is there?
If you go online, you can find that on hazelfilms.com, and you can purchase the movie. It's on DVD. It's not on social media or anything else, but
How cool.
I've also done like more than 14 shows on the internet. So
Really?
that's just been fun, and I'm kind of getting used to it. So
Yeah.
we can go back and forth. And I want, like I said, we want to do drive things.
So that was a blast, actually, to be
It's
honest.
something we want to do.
Yeah.
Where'd you guys do that at? The
We
drive?
did it over by the Raider Stadium at Freshwater Studios, and they have a giant. It's in the industrial complex, and so they set up in the parking lot. They have a giant parking lot right where all the truck loading docks are. They parked all the cars in the picnic tables. We had a food truck. We had a full bar, and a lot of the proceeds went to a charity. I can't recall what the charity was, but a lot of it went to a charity, and it was pretty cool. So we had a good time. I couldn't get on the stage, so we had to come up with another plan. When they put the stage up, they didn't know that I was going to be one of the comics, and so the stage was between two loading dock doors, and so we brainstormed it for a bit and came up with that I would just kind of be behind one of the doors and they roll it up when it was my turn, and it turned out really cool. It's great ad lib. So they're making a documentary out of that comedy show.
Oh, really?
And it's going to wind up on either YouTube or Amazon Prime. So it's in post production now, and when it comes out, we'll let everybody know. But that was a lot of fun. So do that if you guys get a chance to do one of those drive-in comedy things. It's different, and it's just a whole different approach. It's very cool.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna try to do something like that. It's interesting to see what all the jokes are gonna be about once we come out of this pandemic thing. There's gonna be coronavirus joke after coronavirus
Oh,
joke.
yeah.
Yeah.
Can I tell you my joke I made up?
Sure.
Okay, I've done it before, so the audience has to bear with me. So I'm a grandfather. I got this 12-year-old grandson, and he comes to me one day and he goes, "Grandpa," he says, "I got a girlfriend, his first girlfriend." "Oh, that's pretty cool." He goes, "Yeah." He says, "We were out behind the bleachers and I got to first base." I thought, "I don't want to hear any more of this." He goes, "I go, what do you mean by first base?" He said, "Yeah, I got her mask off."
That's what's up.
That's my favorite joke. That's my favorite pandemic joke so far.
I was working on one, and I was talking about my friend how he got the Mexican coronavirus, and I was like, "This is relentless, man. It can come across water, over walls, everything." But I was like, I got that African American coronavirus, but you don't have to worry because it don't work.
It don't work. It's okay. It don't work. That's good.
So that's what I'm working on now.
So, all right. So just before we end here, you guys have anything else you want to share with the audience or anything like that? So, okay. Anything?
Nothing.
Cool. So how can the audience find you guys?
You can find me on all social media at Monte Cruz. That's MonteCrews, not UZ. So you can find me on all social media that way. I put it that way because that's the way I want it on my check, and that's how I can use my ID and get all the cash I can get.
Send your checks to Monte Cruz.
Right.
Yep.
That's same way on my Cash App, except add 937. But you can find me on all social media at Monte Cruz.
Cool. How about you?
Ryan Cole on Facebook, comedian Ryan Cole on Instagram, and Ryan Cole the comedian on Twitter. So got those. Ryan Cole is RYANCOLE. Fold in the front, fold in the back.
Yep, there you go. I like it. So that's kind of brings our podcast for this evening to a close. I want to thank both Monte and Ryan. It's been a blast. I always had a lot of fun. And we want to give again a special thank you to Sienna Italian Restaurant and to the Blue Zone Comedy Tour. And we hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you have any feedback for us, get a hold of us. You can get us on social media, Tickle Me Entertainment, and we look forward to doing our next podcast. So with that, everybody, good night. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for having me.